the left-right paradigm. People used to say, I'm left, I'm right. Well, because everything has become niche due to the internet, what you see is political movements becoming fractured and fragmented. And at first it happened with the left, where I originally was on the left and then I saw wokeism and we all know what happened with that. But now I'm seeing on the right and the fractures start to appear on the right. So what do you think of that, what's happening on the right, and where do you place yourself?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, if you asked me that maybe a year or two ago, I'd probably have like a name for the place where I place myself. But now I'm not so sure, just because I'm kind of in the more kind of dissident right-wing space, and I kind of know the different factions now, and it does feel like the fracturing is more of a product of what's going on with the medium itself, like with the internet itself, and the incentives that are set by the platforms. Because obviously, what are these movements? They have a few key influencers, some of them, and they kind of set policy for the movements. And to grow your specific circle, you kind of have to cleave off audience from the other circles. And then you enter into these beefs for whatever point of doctrine. There's beef around, should we be a wife guy, or is, women loving women and having a peaceful home with them gay, or something like that.
What a conversation.
This is an important conversation on the right. Obviously, there's a split between religious and atheist right-wingers, or people who are like maybe more into like a pagan vibes and things like that. That's a big fault line. So, that's kind of, and obviously the influencers in these spaces, especially because now there's more attention to these spaces, because there really is a lot of generative, interesting stuff happening there. That's why I'm in this space. They're getting a lot of attention. There's a bit of money. Actually, people are getting whatever sign-ups and whatever Substack money, and yeah, there's more incentive to present yourself as the actual heir of the right wing in general, and this is the program, and my 10-point program is much more coherent than your 10-point program. And yeah, people fighting over immigration, like there's the major fault line now is between people who are kind of Christian, and they essentially are looking forward to a right wing with kind of a Christian core as kind of the morality of whatever proposed state that they'd like to live in, and people who say, oh no, Christianity essentially just means open borders, because you just let in anyone in the world who's Christian, and that obviously has a lot of bad side effects in the sense that we're just pretty much at square one and we have the same social ills that we have now, but everyone's nominally Christian. So yeah. I mean, that's kind of the main divide here, and there is something to these arguments. Obviously, they need to be discussed, but the fact that they end up, in the sense that okay, we need to purge you, we need to cleave you off, and whoever is with me has to stay on this side of the fence, and whoever is not with me needs to leave. It's it's definitely it's a interesting and lively time to be in right-wing politics on the internet. But yeah, it's still I think one of the most interesting places to hang out.
And you identify as being, to quote your words, a dissident right. What does that actually mean? What do you believe?
It's just a moniker for the whole space. I mean, what do I believe? I mean, I don't think I'd say I have like a political program to implement tomorrow, but I'm more of a kind of a suspicious of mainstream right politics. I mean, I share the same values. I mean, I think we should have a society that has kind of a relatively core normative ideas of how to live life. The two-parent family type situation, and that policy should be geared towards supporting that. And we should be having a kind of a long-term consideration of what our societies will look like, which brings in the kind of the birth rates conversation and all of this stuff. I think religion should have a kind of a revered position in society, though my personal relationship with religion is a little bit tortured, and I know, but yeah, I think I'm kind of right-wing in the sense of, yes, my values align with pretty much, I would say, most right-wing people who would consider themselves right-wing. What the dissident right brings to the table is kind of a more granular critique of power. Like, a lot of people in the dissident right wouldn't say that, okay, we just need to win the next election, because I think the main epiphany that they've had is post-Trump, post-Brexit, is that things just don't work that way. It's not like you win an election and you have power, and your side has power, and now you do your side's things. We discovered that, there is a whole substructure kind of managerial substructure, you call it the blob, call it the cathedral, call it whatever you'd like, that essentially has a mind of its own, and it is fueled by status. It's fueled by what the elite, the actual elite who is in power, not the figurehead guy who you voted in or out, and what they believe and what fuels them and what interests them. And for now, the major kind of ideology behind the elite is some form of wokeness. You know, the most interesting and powerful people in the world believe some form of wokeness, either because they are true believers, which I think most of them are, or because it is useful to them, because it has, you know, some useful characteristics for the upper class, because they can essentially have kind of this very profound moral vision where they can not only feel good about themselves for, you know, flagellating themselves because, you know, whatever, white guilt and all this type of stuff. They can hate the people that they usually hate, which is kind of the middle and lower middle class. And then they can also kind of virtuously give handouts to their client classes, which are the lower classes, you know, people, immigrants, you know, all the woke coalition, the woke pyramid that you want to, obviously they don't mingle with these people, but they are their client class and they can make promises to them and they can gang up on the middle, obviously, because the middle is always the contender for the top spot. You know, you're not worried about, you know, the people in Newham. You know, you're worried about the people in Cornwall, you know, and you don't want those to come and get you.